I don't appreciate your tone or what you're insinuating.
Pete's already on me tonight, and I am on getting this started right about. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you from a couple of places on the internet. We're live over on Crowdcast, live on YouTube, coming to you later at Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, podcast of your choice, wherever you get podcasts. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for tuning in. We got two great guests for you tonight, but first, right at the top here, you might notice Justin is not here. That's because he forgot his children's birthday.
Yeah, he can't keep his kids straight, A, and B, he doesn't know when you should celebrate their birthday.
Well, didn't he have that situation? He had that situation, you know the one that I'm talking about, where like he forgot his kid's birthday, and then his kid on the birthday cake was like, I wish my dad was always here.
Yeah.
And then he got like trapped on the same day. So he's in a loop right now.
Yeah.
He just walked past the guy with bananas that's juggling all the bananas and drops them. And I think he's on like the fourth or fifth loop. So he's helped him catch most of the bananas.
It sounds
but
like
he still hasn't figured out the thing with his daughter.
A banana's good time. I think realistically his kid, I hope one of these days one of his children wishes it would be on time. You know what I mean? That would be super helpful.
Well, he does a podcast with his kids, and he's always on time to that. So he's getting a little inside baseball.
Is he, though?
I did want to mention right here at the top of the podcast that every week we have a drink that is curated either by Stray Bullet, Brett Macris, our CBC official chef, or one of the members of our Patreon Slack. In this case, this is one that we found. I don't know if I know you've been reading, Pete, but I don't know if all of our listeners have been reading Mind Management Bootleg, coming from Dark Horse Comics, which is awesome. Such a good book. Definitely should be reading it. But in the back of every issue, there's this bit, which Matt Kent, when he was on our podcast, talked about a little bit, where he said he doesn't see much of a need for supporting material, ancillary behind-the-scenes material. So all the behind-the-scenes material in the book is, I'm going to say fake, but it's actually just more in the world of mind management. So this issue, he had a whole script that was mind-blowing for any fans of the comic book, but in there he included a recipe for a Mai Tai. So, of course, I pulled that out, and we made that for this evening. It is the Mind Management Bootleg Mai Tai. It's made with two types of rum, lime juice, grapefruit juice, falernum, Cointreau, bitters, Pernod over cracked ice. And I didn't get too fancy, but you can put a slice of squeezed lime, some pineapple, and mint for garnish if you want. And then he says at the end there, pour all the liquids into a cocktail shaker, fill it with ice, and shake it for about 30 seconds. Meditate over it, thinking of burning sunsets and smoke-filled skies.
Whoa.
So there you go. It's very good, by the way. It's very refreshing. So if the whole comic book thing falls through for Matt Kent, he could always be a bartender. I guess. I was looking for cocktailier. Is that what it is?
I don't know. He could be Tom Cruise. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's the only guy I know who makes cocktails.
Yeah.
He makes a great one. It's called the Maverick. I don't know what it is, but it's very good. Why don't we bring in our first guest here? He is the creator of Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, among other things, which just launched a new Kickstarter today. Russell Nohelty. Russell, hello. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I have to say, I'm really upset that it's not called a Mind Tai, because I feel like it was just right there.
It was right there.
Oh, yeah.
It was so close.
Well, to be fair, he didn't give a name to it in the book, so I think you just named it. It's the Mind Tai.
There you go.
There we go.
Nice.
We're now part of the continuity. Let's talk about this book, which you just launched the complete version of it, which I believe is all 4 volumes on Kickstarter today. You've got a very ominous sounding $10,000, $666 goal, and you've already gotten $6,000 of it in just a few short hours. That's got to feel good.
It does. It really does. You know, every time you do another volume of a book, it's like, are they going to like it? Are they going to still like it? Is it going to still matter to people? And so every time you launch it and you launch well, it's a really good feeling, especially because Ichabod it's such a weird book that I kind of can't believe that people love it as much as they do. Still, like, it's not like boobs. It's not like a collector book. Like, it's not like people like aspirational superheroes. Like, it's just like about a weird dude who like very viscerally fails a whole lot and somehow keeps going. And it's been very gratifying to watch that. I mean, it only exists because of fans, the last 3 volumes. So it's really gratifying to see them come back and support it on the first day for sure.
What we're talking about, though, is very relatable and does sound great. I mean, you superhero stuff and all that other stuff you mentioned is great, but this is something very relatable. Somebody who fails and continues and somehow still manages. So, I mean, that to me sounds awesome.
Well, I made this book. This was my first real comic. I did an Ash Cam before, but it's the first real book that I did. And like, I was in such a bad place that I think a lot of the fact that I felt like a failure and that like I was wondering, like, is there any way to like redeem the fact that I just blew like $100,000 trying to chase these dreams? And like, is there any way to take control of the own narrative and become a hero, even though I felt like ostracized in a lot of the same ways that Ichabod felt ostracized? And like, I think that connects to people. And I think that when we brought it back for the next volumes, like, I wanted to show this. I wanted to have a little thread of hope, because the cool thing about this book is I did the first volume in 2010 and the second volume in 2019. And during that time, like, I'd done a bunch of successful Kickstarters. Like, I'd become a successful creator. Like, I was doing this full time, and not just full time, but at a high level. And so like, I could look back. It was literally like at 2019, like echoing back to my 2010 self and like pulling this kind of string of hope through it that didn't exist, I think, when I first wrote it. And it seems to have resonated with people. I'm still so shocked that people call it their like favorite book they've ever read, or
awesome.
The favorite book of my catalog. Of like, I've had so many books, and Ichabod is just such this weird thing. And also, we based it upon underground comics of the 2000s. So like the SLG stuff, which like, I mean, some of them like were hits for underground comics, but like none of them were like Marvel or DC things. So that this kind of also odd art style, which works so well with the art. Just like, I'm always so gratified because I feel like Ichabod is the reason Kickstarter exists. Like, like Kickstarter doesn't exist. And I have this nothing against Boom, but like Kickstarter doesn't exist to make Power Ranger books. Like Kickstarter doesn't exist like for Marvel to launch like a new line. Like, I'm fine with Brandon Sanderson and all of them doing the book, and I think a Kickstarter is robust enough that everyone can get theirs, and like, I love it. But like, to me, Kickstarter exists for the projects that you pass by and you're like, wait, what? Like, what is this thing that like it absolutely will never find a shelf or shouldn't find a shelf? Like, the audience isn't there, but like, it can garner this kind of like ember of an idea. And to me, Ichabod is like, for me, of all of my work, like the encapsulation of that.
Cool. Well, I definitely got that feel very heavily, and I think you call out Johnny the Homicidal Maniac in particular as an inspiration. So where did it start? Were you looking to create something in that, I don't even know if it's a genre necessarily, but with that feel? Did the idea come first? Where did it start?
Yeah, so it started like most good things start with a fuck you to the industrial complex. So I'd made this book called Wannabes, which is adorable. It's about fake superheroes to get real superpowers. And I was in 2010 going down and like, this is the one, like, I'm going to get like my big break at Comic-Con 2010. And like, I mean, we've all had this story, so like, we're all probably smiling in the background because we know like where this is going. But like, I was like, I'm gonna get my big break on these 8 pages, and no one's ever made a story this good. And roundly like just punched in the face for like 5 days. And people like, Marvel and DC make superhero books. Why should we make your superhero book? And I was like, I don't know, because it's also good. And like, I didn't like have a reason for that, which like is again to my detriment. But I came back and I was like, if I'm gonna get rejected from the comic book industry, like, I'm gonna really get rejected from the comic book industry. I want to do something that like is so weird, like there's no Like there's no earthly reason why anyone should ever publish it. And so I was driving over. I live in LA, so there's this big hill before you get into the valley where you can kind of, when you crest it, you kind of see everything in front of you. And I was like, what if I just made a psychopath a superhero, like the hero of the book? And I'd read a bunch of like psychopath books, and they're always very bleak and nihilistic and like glorifying murder or something. Like they're always very like not the kind of thing that I would want to make. So I was like, how can I make this like hero palatable? I was like, I want to do this book. I love this idea, but I have to make him palatable. I have to make him likable. I have to make him like an actual hero. And I was like, well, no one would have ever published that book. And I think that it's not because like you have to have this like FU ethos to like the book, but I think great things start coming when you're like, I'm just going to make the thing that I desperately want to make. Like, I'm not going to look and see like, what is the trend today? Or like, what is the trend next week? Or like, how do I check every box? I'm not saying great things can't happen from that too, but I think the kernel of it is like, I desperately want to make this story and it has to be told. And that's kind of where Ichabod came from. And then I went and tried to find an artist, and Renzo, I mean, that the fourth page of this first issue was
the art's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I honestly could not believe that he gave me this thing that was exactly what I wanted. And like, only about 7 people even applied to do this. And he was one of like 3 that actually did a test page. And from that, we got this thing. And I am still shocked. Like, I think it is a crime that Renzo is not better known, because the art in this book is stuff that like maybe 20 people in the world can do, and he just does it effortlessly.
Wow.
Yeah, well, given that,
absolutely magical. Sorry.
No, I was going to say is, once you got set with your artist, though, and now you're 4 volumes in, how has that changed how you approach the book?
I think there's just a lot more trust than there was for sure in that first volume. Renzo is a much more accomplished artist now. He's just been doing this for 10 years. And we finished in 2011. It didn't pick up till 2019 again. So there was like an 8-year break in there. And in that time, Renzo just got like so much more confident in his work. And also from just us working together for so long, I was kind of able to say, I'm just going to trust you that this is going to work. And a lot of times he would, and the way Renzo does work, oftentimes it's just like a head on black, because so much of his work, or on white, because so much of his work comes in the color phase, and you just have to kind of take it on faith. And I found myself it was a lot easier to take it on faith in issue 15 than it was in issue 2, and to just know that like it's gonna happen. And I think that you have to have some of that like wide-eyed innocence to work in comics at all, because like so many things can happen, and so many things have happened in my career, from like brownouts, like preventing people from emailing me back for months, to like artists getting carpal tunnel, to like people walking away of books, people being hired from Marvel and DC in the middle of like a run that we're working on. The fact that you can continue to make these books is kind of like, with all of the potential pitfalls, is kind of incredible. And the length of time you have to have it. I used to make movies, and movies are impossible to make, but they're like a finite amount of time. After a couple of weeks or a couple of months, like you're done making the movie. Whereas a comic book is like months, years often of your life, like that you have to continue to have a good relationship with this person. And to me, I think that was what really changed. Like, we were pretty grizzled veterans by the time we did this. Like, Renzo had already done some stuff when I started working with him, but by the time we met up again in 2019, like we'd both been through the ringer. We both like spoke the same language, and like we both knew how much we loved this book. Like, we didn't know how much we loved it in 2010 when we started making it. Like, then we went away from it for 8 years, and like over that time, we got an Argentinian publisher for it, and like we talked and we became friends outside of the book. And just like, it's one of the things in my life that like defines my life. And I don't know if Renzo would say the same, but like he loves the book and he loves the world and he loves the characters in a way that you don't know when you take a contract job. You only know like once the story is over and once you've done a bunch of stuff, how much a world means to you.
Yeah. Well, given that this is being sold as the complete Ichabod Jones, are you done with it at this point then? Or are you two moving on to another project? What are the plans there?
So I will say it is the end of Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, but I will not say that is the end of Ichabod Jones, because what most people don't know about this is Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter was only like the colon is because the name of the book is Ichabod Jones, and there was supposed to be Monster Hunter and other things. When you worked on one thing for 12 years, it's kind of hard to separate those two things. I will say definitively, this is the end of Monster Hunter. To me, this is the last issue in the whole world because it ends exactly how I wanted it to end. But
that's great.
After what happened in Ichabod, after what happened in 2019, where like fans raised $16,000 to like bring Ichabod back from the dead and have me do 3 more volumes. Like, I can't say that it's the end, but to me, like, this is the resolution that people wanted in 2014 when the series ends. Although I don't know if they will be satisfied with it, but I will say since the beginning, this has been how I wanted to end the series, because it is always this juxtaposition between, is it in his head? Is he killing people? Is he killing monsters? Or like, what is the truth? And I think like I have fulfilled that promise over as many issues as a human can without spoiling it. It is a very hard line to walk and still move a story forward between those things. And I think I've done I don't think I could make one more issue and like continue in this world without like breaking everything.
Okay. And you have at this point 36 more days on the Kickstarter, right? 37 more days.
We just launched this morning and there's plenty of time left, but
awesome.
Every week we do special perks, and this perk is a really cool one. I did a bookmark which has the Straight Out of Hell, like Straight Out of Compton, with all of the Dukes of Hell on it, which you'll only be able to get in the early bird perks by backing this week. So, and every week we line up more perks. So people that back this week will probably get somewhere between $60 and $100 of free comics plus other things throughout the course of the campaign.
Wow.
So
can't beat that. That's awesome. Russell, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, and congratulations, man.
Good luck with everything.
Thanks so much.
And excited to see how it turns out.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Once again, the book is called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, currently on Kickstarter. So do check it out from Russell Nohelty. And there's a bunch of other volumes that you can check out as well on his website.
I mean, that's just such a cool story about like how the fans saved something and he got to completed how he wanted to. I mean, that doesn't always get to happen. So it's nice to see that the fans are able to make that happen for him. That's exciting.
Absolutely. And we're going to bring our second guest into the stream. He is a returning guest, a good friend of the show, Ramzee, who has a book. Our story in Edge of Spider-Verse #2 from Marvel is coming out tomorrow, reintroducing Spider UK in a new form to this new epic Spider-Verse crossover. We had a little bit of a hiccup with getting him into the stream earlier. We'll see if it works here. In the meantime, Pete, what's your favorite Spider-Man movie?
What?
Talking about Spider-Verse.
Okay.
In the whole Spider-Verse, you got 3 different Spider-Men on screen. What's your favorite Spiders?
I would have to say it's the first Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man.
Really? Why is that?
Well, I just think it did a lot of great things in that movie, and
And what is your problem with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield?
Well, Tobes was the first Spider-Man, and that was great. I mean, I loved 1 and 2. 3 not so much, but I mean, I don't know if that's really Tobes' fault. You know what I mean? But
he wrote it and produced and directed it and played all the parts, so it was at least partially his fault.
I don't know if that's true, Subs.
It was his study professor. Hey, we can stop talking about this. Ramzee, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Very excited to have you back on for such a momentous occasion.
I only make comics to get on the show, really. That's the only reason. That's the only motivation.
Oh, man. No way, dude.
That's so weird. I only do this podcast to read comics. Actually, I guess that makes more sense, but all right. This is a big deal. You are reintroducing, this is a new Spider UK, right? Or a new version of Spider UK? How does it work? Set it up.
Set it up, like, I mean, like the last Spider UK died in like Spider-Geddon, I think, and they wanted to bring him back, or they wanted to bring back the Spider UK title.
Right. Well, this is a very different character then. So what did they give you? And I don't know how much we can talk about given it's coming out tomorrow, but how much did they give you in terms of the setup? Did they say just like pitch us Spider-Man, but in Britain?
Well, basically, I was in like rehearsals for a play. Like, writers don't generally go to rehearse.
Oh no!
He's freezing a little bit. He doesn't want to tell us what's going on.
Add line or take a line. I don't want much out of it, and I'll be like, "Oh my god! Oh, can you hear me? Oh no! Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're back now. You're back.
Hello.
You're back.
Hi.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so I got the call from the Spider office, and they were like, "Okay, so you got 16 pages, 60 pages. We don't want an origin story, and we want it in a week." And I was like, "Oh, wow!" So I already had some idea. It was pretty open. Besides those constrictions, and there was a few. Going into it, there was a few things I already had in my head of what to do. Also, Zoe Thorogood already designed the character, so I knew it was a black girl character, and But besides that, everything was everything was open for grabs, basically. So I'm a Muslim creator. And one of my like bucket list things to do is to make a Muslim superhero. And I remember when Miss Marvel came out, I was like at the comic shop with my friend Moran, who is Pakistani Muslim, and we were like, you know what? Like, what if there was like a Muslim superhero? Like, what would happen if, like, I don't know, Fing Fang Foom started like wrecking up the city? And your Ramadan and your fast would be screwed. Your whole energy would be low and stuff like that. How that work that sort of like idea pinged in my head. I was like, oh, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. And it ended up being a really good device for like a Spider-Man story, because I feel like with Spider-Man, like one of his key features that people find so relatable is this character who's juggling a lot of obligations. So he'd be like, it's Christmas Eve and I haven't bought any presents and I've got to buy some presents, and then like Hobgoblin would turn up and he would have to sort that out, and by the time he's defeated him, all the shops are closed and he has to go to like, I don't know, service station to buy stuff, So it's sort of like how the real world interferes with stuff. So I was like, okay, I can use this as sort of like a real life complication to a superhero story. And another thing, I like during lockdown, I realized like I've lived in London most of my life and I've never seen all the big sites. I was like, as soon as things open up again, I'm gonna be a tourist in my own city. And I went on a walking tour, and one of the guys who was running it was like, did you know that around the boundary of London there's 14 watch dragons? And I immediately started thinking of like that movie Reign of Fire.
I was gonna call that out. Reading without getting into spoilers, reading the story, I was like, this is Reign of Fire. He's doing a Reign of Fire here.
But basically, the poster, it shows these like dragons like wrecking up London. But when you go watch the movie, it's like a Mad Max world. You don't really see that. The poster is not the movie.
Yes, the poster is not the movie, is I think
And I
what
was
you're
like,
saying before you're freezing. Yeah. Ooh, you're freezing again, bud. Oh no. Internet.
Dang you, internet.
Yeah. So this is the problem. This is the problem. This is why we don't like having internet guests on our internet show, is it's always an issue. I will say, while he is frozen here on a very funny frame, the story, without spoiling it, is great, super fun. It is Rate of
Oh my
Fire
God, it's so great.
versus Spider-Man. And like he was saying as well, one of the things that I think is great about it is you don't necessarily get to see these different aspects of UK culture that's baked into it. Normally, it feels like it's through an American lens where you'll, and I'm not saying anything about the previous Spider UK, but you'll usually have like, here's Captain UK, and he is dressed in the British flag, and he has one of those poofy hats the guards have on, and he's like, crikey, let's take a lift and eat some biscuits. And that's pretty much all you get. Versus here, of course, actually, London in particular is a very diverse place with a lot of different cultures there. So you're seeing a different aspect of that that feels like it fits absolutely perfectly. So hopefully you can come back to the stream and talk about them himself. But I was very impressed and very happy to read that story.
Also, he mentioned the design of the character. It's really cool and not overly, you're kind of not slapped over that. It's a great design for the character as well.
Yes. It seems like he's stretching to get back in here to explaining. Hey, there you are. You're back. We were just giving you big ups on your story.
Guys, I'm like, it's like the internet from. Is that from here to England? I guess it's a really dodgy line.
Yes. Well, the internet's
but
carrying
yeah, it was just basically
hand,
trying to meld that yeah, I know. Well, basically, it was just trying to mix those elements together, and you only have like 16 pages of real estate, so it's trying to make it as fun as possible, introduce the character. And another thing, like one of the things, I don't know if it's spoilery, I don't know. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted the comic to have its own identity, because I feel like this is just like my own like quibble. I know I'm not judging any other writers or anybody else, but when I find a lot of diversity stuff, it's a lot like, I call it skin suit storytelling in a way. Like I'd read, like it'd be like, oh, this is just a Captain America story, or this is like a Superman story, but it's Black Superman, which is okay, but there's nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. And what I thought would be cool, if like I was like, what if she worked for, because I'm a big fan of 80s Excalibur, and I was like, and it links to Britain, like it's one of the few British Marvel properties. And I was like, what if she works for the Weird Happenings organization? And I was a big fan of that, and so it could be like a Monster of the Week, like Buffy or Supernatural or something like that, and it will allow big crazy to give the comic a bit more of its own original flavor.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, I think you really did that, and I was actually very impressed how cohesive and complete the story felt in the 16 pages. First of all, I was very happy that you got that real estate and anthology series. Normally, I think we're used to like 4 or 5 page stories, something like that. So that was really great to see. I kept expecting it to be like, she comes in and fights a dragon, and 2 pages later it's done, but in a good way, it kept going and actually fleshed it out and fleshed out her emotional arc and everything that's happening. So very happy to see that. And I hope we see more of this character as well. Do you know if there's anything in the works as we head towards the Spider-Verse event?
I'm not sure. I don't know what Dan is doing. It's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. I don't even know if she's going to survive. You know, it's all up. It's all up in the air. I hope I get to do more of her or any like Big Two stuff, because like it was the big. I think the hidden thing about like what people don't really know about like Big Two comics is the deadline, because I come from more, well, I started out in indie comics, and then I'm doing stuff for 2000 AD. But like the cool thing about like big two comics is basically with indie comics, you know, you can like write stories on your chaise longue and you've got infinite amount of time to tell a story, you know, whereas like big two comics is like game 6 energy. You've got to like really deliver in such a small you just have to really deliver on that time. And with you don't have time to overthink, and which kind of forces you to rely more on like your storytelling instincts. And by the end of it, I guess it's like improv. By the end of it, when you've had a really good show and you look back on it and you're like, wow, this really tested me as a storyteller or as a comedian, and I really came up with some surprising things that I didn't think I did at the beginning. So I definitely want to do more of that.
Awesome. Well, I hope you get to, because it was great.
Me too.
Cheers,
very
man.
cool story. Ramzee, thank you so much for jumping on. It was so good seeing you as always, and excited for everybody else to get to read this story tomorrow. Oh, he's frozen again. I think we ended that at the right time. All right. Well, thanks, Ramzee.
Make more comics to get on this shit. I can hang out with you cool people.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Have a good night. All right, there we go. Once again, the book is Edge of Spider-Verse #2. It's out from Marvel tomorrow. It's, I believe, the second story is by Ramzee featuring Spider UK, and it's very, very fun. You should absolutely check it out.
For sure.
And we are going to move on to our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It's your audience questions. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question, ask a question over here on Crowncast or in the comments over on YouTube. And Pete, I talked about what I was drinking, which is the Mind Tie, as it was named. What are you drinking tonight?
Nice adjustment. I am still raiding my brother's fridge. Nice. I'm starting to think now that maybe he didn't like these, and that's why there's so many left. But win one for me, a little vodka and soda with a little lemon splashed in there, all in the can. You know what I mean?
Fresh lemon.
It's all in the can. You know what I mean? So you know it's fresh. You know it's fresh.
Absolutely. There's a little man that comes into the fridge every night and is like, squirt.
Let's hope so.
Oh, good stuff. All right, we got a question here. This is from Stray Bullet. I had an insane conversation in a bar yesterday about Carnage. In this conversation, this gentleman who seemed in no way disturbed at all about his love for Carnage said, yeah, Woody Harrelson was good, but I think Crispin Glover would have been awesome as Carnage. He probably wasn't wrong about this, but is there a casting you think should have happened but didn't?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of different stuff. I understand what that person was maybe thinking. It was like, oh, Woody Harrelson's good, but it would be creepier, the creepy thin man playing this character. So yeah, I can understand somebody wanting to make a darker character darker.
So just to check, you understand what the crazy man who was terrorizing our official CBC chef was going through?
In quotes.
Sorry, that's reductive. Fucking insane guy.
Oh, man. I hope that guy comes and finds you one day.
Probably later on today, let's be honest.
Let's hope so. I'm sure New Orleans, New York City is a quick trip.
It's not that long of a plane flight. And I'll be up for a while putting together these podcasts. So come on over, buddy. We're going to chat about your Crispin Glover casting.
Sweet.
What other casting, though, was not quite right that could have been better?
I mean, where to start? You know what I mean? I don't know. Tons of different stuff. I mean, obviously, Hugh Jackman was an amazing, well-acted Wolverine, but if you want somebody with a little bit more height appropriate, you could have had another aspect to the character that maybe wasn't there,
like a Crispin Glover type or something like that.
Well, I don't know how tall he is, but we got it with X-23, which was nice. So Logan, I finally, after years and years, finally got it.
We got a comment here. Maybe Danny DeVito for Wolverine. Would that have worked nicely? He's the right height.
He is shorter in stature, which is more correct. But I don't know if Danny would have worked. You know what I mean? That would have been a lot of stunt double stuff, I would think. But you never know.
I know I was razzing you about this earlier, but talking about Spider-Man, as much as I love those Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, I don't think Tobey Maguire is right for the role of Peter Parker necessarily. Like, Andrew Garfield to me is a perfect Peter Parker. He does a great job as Peter Parker. I don't think the movies are good at all. You're wrong, Pete. He's a really good Peter Parker. And I think Tom Holland does a really good Ultimate Spider-Man version. Both of them are probably better than Tobey Maguire, even though the movies are awesome. Particularly Spider-Man 3, my favorite one.
Well, I mean, what was nice was when all three of them were together in that last movie. That was very moving, very powerful, and was really a nice kind of moment for all the fans to kind of have them all there and kind of playing off each other, you know.
Yeah, so, the pointing. I know you love the pointing. All right, we got a question here from Pablo D. Martinez. She-Hulk is coming on Thursday. Watch it or binge the episodes when it's done? The eternal question with watching any weekly show.
Well, you would say binge it. You would say wait for it all and then binge it.
So here's what I would say about it. You got 9 weeks, right, of the show, which is a lot. So that's a longer time than usual. You have to wait for a Marvel show, which is usually 6 episodes at this point. So if you want to wait that longer point when everybody's talking about it, that might be a little frustrating for you. The other thing that I'd say is it's very cameo and Easter egg heavy. So if you don't want to get spoiled on stuff, I think watch it week to week. That's probably the way to do it. Otherwise, you might find out something you don't want to do. But it's also a half-hour show, so if you feel like that's not enough for your viewing experience, if you need a chunkier viewing experience, then sure, wait a while and binge it. Either way.
I just hated your tone that you went into with the cameo heavy and that kind of thing. What sucks about...
I'm literally saying that people are going to be tweeting about the cameos and the Easter eggs and stuff.
Sure.
So if you don't want it spoiled for you, watch it.
And I was saying I had a problem with the tone, not what you said and how you said it.
Was it because I sounded like this, Pete?
Yeah, you put a little extra douche on it, which I didn't appreciate. And as far as
douche is my resting point. Okay, like that's resting douche voice.
It's
is
true.
What my doctor.
I'm glad we're finally talking about it.
Diagnosed
my problem
earlier today
with you for years.
I'm getting surgery later this week to deal with it.
What's nice about the Patreon Slack is that if you don't read all of your tweets, sometimes when you say something that's insane or absurd, people will bring it up on the Slack, and then the rest of us can read it. So what was cool is I had a real moment after I read your stupid tweet where I was like, oh my God, Zelvin's been wrong about so many things. Why am I listening to him about his opinions on TV
so unrelated
show?
To what Pablo was asking. This is just something.
I don't think so.
This is something you wanted to say no matter what. Here's the deal. I tweeted out my social media embargo review of She-Hulk. I did not like the first 4 episodes of it. In the Patreon Slack, I couched it in. I am in the minority. The majority of people who tweeted about it liked it. That's great. Pete took exception to that and is bringing that up on our comic book show, a completely inappropriate place to talk about this.
Yeah, thank you. But what's nice is I then had this nice a moment of like, oh my God, why am I listening to Zalvin? So I immediately turned on Paper Girls, and I was like, oh man, fuck Zalvin, I'm going to check out this show.
Yeah, how's Paper Girls, Pete? Was I wrong about that one?
I liked the first episode.
Really?
Yeah, because I read the comics and I kind of knew what was happening. Sure. So even though it was dark and you couldn't see shit,
everybody's running all over the place. And
yeah.
The effects look bad, and it looks like people wandered off of a soundstage somewhere. They're not quite sure where they're going. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. My point.
Yeah. I will say about Paper Girls, just while we're on this rambly subject here, it does get incrementally better for the first episode, which is like a bunch of undirected nonsense. Very weird. I'm very curious. I know I said this to you before the show even launched. There is one teeny tiny little thing in Paper Girls that is going to take you from where you are now to like, this is the best show I've ever seen. I don't care about anything else. This is great. I love this. And you're going to harp on this one thing and be like, this is why it's the best show. And it's going to be the same as when you're like, the American Gods Sorry, American Gods is great because of the car. For example, like that being the main character.
Having a car as a character is genius. Genius. You should have leaned into it more.
All right, we got a couple of other questions here. This one is from Kevin. What are some of your other favorite superheroes from countries beside the U.S.? Good question. Who's the Israeli superhero? Sabra? They called her that. They named her after the hummus.
Oh my God! Don't.
That's true.
Is it 100%. True? If you sound like an asshole. I don't know.
I know. I kind of hate it. Stray Bullet says Elizabeth Braddock. Yeah, she's great. That's pretty good. I really liked. What was the series? Oh, was it the Big Ten? Was that the Chinese super team that I think Grant Morrison created or co-created? That was really good.
Morrison did do Big Ten for sure.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting and cool when they were pushing that particularly heavily at the beginning. Kevin now adds some caveats of not saying Canada, the UK, or Japan. Okay. So we can't say Alpha Flight, which is one of my favorite teams of all time. I'll call it out anyway. I'll say every once in a while I go back and read the first 12 issues of John Byrne's run on Alpha Flight, which is so phenomenal. Like, and every time I forget it, and it's so good. It's so well crafted. If you've never read those first 12 issues, do, because it's insane how well they work as one.
I think story. A little bit more to Kevin's point. Yeah, we should be doing more stuff outside of the U.S. because I feel like I should broaden my horizons and try to
he also seek out more. Country. So we can't call out Kondak and say that we really like Black Adam. What about Yara Flores? Isn't she from Brazil? The new Wonder Woman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
She's great.
She is great. We've been loving that for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's been really good. I'm sure I'll think of some other ones. Why don't we go to a question here on YouTube? This is... just a quick thing. James Emmett over here says Storm should have been played by Angela Bassett.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Great call. But here's a question from Stanley. Are there any good creative projects available, like TV or books, that the CBC hosts have worked on?
Wait, well, what was the question?
Are there any good creative projects available, like TV or books, that the CBC hosts have worked on? I feel like, first of all, this is a cue up for Justin, who isn't here this week. 101 Places to Party Before You Die is running on True TV every Thursday night, I believe, at like
it is Thursday night. Yeah.
Check that out. Super fun show.
Oh my God! Every episode is just a banger. It's a ton of fun, and it's also like two guys running around the country having a blast and exploring, and it's just a great way to be like, oh, if I ever go to that city, I'm going to check out that place for sure.
And Pete, you've worked on TV shows before.
Oh yeah, I've definitely worked on a bunch of TV shows. I don't know if there's anything you should go out and seek, but I mean, Justin's the same. I mean, he's done a ton of different stuff. I mean, he worked on Deezus and Marrow.
I mean, just to plug, if it's okay, I co-created a show called Better Call Saul that actually just ended last night, and I'm really proud of what we did. Honestly, the whole staff, the whole cast
claim that.
Did an incredible job. I mean, up to the viewers, I think, how you felt about how we ended it. But, you know, when I was directing that last scene of the last episode, it was just we were all crying on set and just having... and kind of like laughing at the same time. Bob came over and gave me a hug and was like, you did it, man. You really did it. Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Odie?
Good old Odie. I mailed him to Abu Dhabi, and then we kind of moved on from there.
Well,
no, sorry, I kicked him off the table. I didn't mail him to Abu Dhabi. That would be normal.
Oh my God.
I don't want to lie about what happens in Garfield.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that Garfield hate.
Yes. And we got one last one here from Pablo says, Alex lying on this podcast. Interesting. Wow. That's the meanest thing anybody's ever said to me. Also from Pablo, I like trades that have behind the scenes material in them. Do you like that as well or not? seems to tie into what our guest Matt Kint was saying a couple of weeks ago. Do you like that sort of material when you're reading a trade collection, like script pages and development art and other things like that?
I do love development art. It's nice. I think it's cool to see where something maybe started as an idea and how it evolved. I think that's super awesome to kind of see the rough beginnings of a character. Especially because it's like you get to see mistakes of like, I'm glad they didn't go with that or whatever. It's fun to see like them try on different things to kind of see what works. I think that, I'm sure there's a ton of writers out there who like to see scripts and like what they look like and how you kind of send something to an artist and what you have to put on the page so they can understand it.
Well, I mean, not to interrupt your flow, Pete, but I will say I didn't really answer that question before. I did write a couple of comics back in the day, and when I was trying to figure out how to do that, I pulled out my trades and I looked at scripts from writers that I liked and tried to figure out, okay, how did they write that? How did they format that? What were they doing? So those were invaluable lessons there in the back of the book in terms of putting that stuff together. So I think they're really good resources, and I think it doesn't hurt anything to throw them in there. If you want to look at them, great. If you don't want to look at them, that's also great. One of the things I particularly really like is I love seeing variant covers in the back. Like you've read through 6 issues of something and then they just print all the variant covers there. Always very fun.
Yeah, I mean, in the Daredevil that we'll probably be talking about tomorrow, you got to see every cover, which was pretty neat. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Are you okay? Michael Tillman says there's one of the books that I wrote was called Detective Honey Bear, which is still available online. I think it's was co-created with a guy named Josh Kenfield, and we did 2 issues and also an Instagram story for Halloween. And it's about an adorable little bear that solves mysteries. So you can check that out. Or if you ever want a copy, if you can't find it, let me know, and I'm happy to send it to you for free with a couple of stickers and shirts and stuff.
Nice.
All right. I think that is it for your audience questions. So why don't we move on to trivia? And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter LePage.
All right. Well, do we have a person? Or are we looking for a first-hand up guy?
We're looking for a first-hand up guy here. Anybody who would like to participate in trivia, get a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Say me, or here, or hand raised, either on Crowdcast or YouTube, and you will get $25
for Midtown Comics online,
Midtown
which
Comics.
is, because if you had $25, you would get some comics, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And if we don't get a hand up guy, I've got a charity I can compete for.
And also, guy is in quotes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
No. Obviously, it could be anybody. We don't.
Ooh, we got a hand up from Stray Bullet here. Probably
Stray
wants
Bullets.
to do another Punisher quiz. All right, here we go.
Punisher quiz is closed.
Oh, wow.
He already won it.
He
already won it.
He already won it.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely.
Stray Bullies.
Brad, how are you?
I'm good. Thank
Cheers to you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm onto.
You're done.
Sparkling water.
Okay.
I've had like 3 today.
Done drinking for the day.
I mean, at least for an hour. You gotta
Good for you.
pace
Good
yourself,
for you.
man. I gotta work tomorrow.
Oh man. Oh shit. You're right. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, Stray Bullies.
Okay,
Today's trivia is on topical comic news and a small nod to the legend Gene LaBelle, R.I.P. to the godfather of grappling.
All right.
Please listen to
What?
all 3 options before making.
What are you doing? So many people died this week. Ed Hayes.
Why
For
is somebody
example.
more important? There's a list you got to go through. You can't.
There is not. No, this is not. There is no list you need to go through. You made up a list.
Don't tell me my business. All right. Please listen to all 3 options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. Who is celebrating Latin Heritage Month with variant covers starting on September 15th? Is it A, Marvel, B, IDW, or C, Rex Lynn? So it's either A, Marvel, or you could pick something else.
It's A, Marvel.
That's right. Sucking on that teat, baby. Let's go. Question number 2.
What is Alex doing? What are you doing?
What was I doing? I had a little bit more of this in my
his tumbler, his fancy
shaker.
tumbler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, nice, dude. Yeah. Very topical.
This is great for our audio podcast.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I can't.
All right, here we go. The nominees are out for the 2022 Best Comic. What comic isn't on the list? Is it A, Far Sector, B, Do a Powerbomb, or C, Elizabeth Pena? So it's either A, Far Sector, because that should be on the list,
It should be on the list.
or is it B, Do a Powerbomb, which also should be on the list?
And
Either?
Elizabeth Pena. So your question was what's not on the list, right?
Not on the
What's
list.
a comic?
Yeah, Elizabeth
What's a
Pena.
comic? What's a
Oh, comic is not. Okay,
that's
Elizabeth
not on
Pena
the
is not a comic.
Listen to the question, asshole. Come on.
Sorry, man.
Stop just mixing your drink.
That was totally clear. That's on me.
Okay, great.
My watch is telling me to stand up. Sorry, guys.
Stand
There
up. You were correct. A, Far Sector. Way to
Hey.
be on that one. Here we go. Last one. In November, what is the name of the new Avengers title? Is it A, Murder World, B, Fan World, or C, Roger Fan? So it's either A, Murder World, which sounds scary, but that's what Avengers title is coming out in November, or it's B.
I'll pick A.
A is correct. $25 free for
Wow.
you, sir.
Nice.
Go to
Incredible.
Midtown Comics.
You have won. You are going to get a $25 gift card to Midtown.
Wait, hold on.
Comics,
Who
Brett.
is it, what was the charity you're going to give it to?
Oh, the charity I was going to give to, there's a friend of the show named Ivan Brandon who actually just had a massive heart attack and is hoping for help to support his hospital bills. So I was going to give it to the GoFundMe, but I guess we'll give you.
I'll
money
just
for
take some
Club.
comics. Yeah. Give it to Brandon.
Yeah,
Brandon
we'll give
can
it to
have it.
Ivan.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll give it to Ivan Brandon. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it. Always good seeing you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Let's take care of yourself, man.
All right, there we go. Now, as we all know, tomorrow is...
Wait.
Oh, your secret quiz. Yes. What was
Right.
it? 6 days, 7 nights, I assume.
No, it was the 1998 hit Rush Hour. You were
Okay, we
correct,
got it
Kevin.
again. Amazing. As we all know, comics are cool. They're coming out all the time. Pete, what are you looking forward to?
Well, as I previously mentioned, Do a Powerbomb is number 3 is out. Also, Batman One Bad Day, the Riddler #1 was really bananas, and definitely worth checking out for sure.
I'm always looking forward to an issue of The Silver Coin, the horror anthology that's only real connective fiber is artist Michael Walsh.
I couldn't.
So that's fun.
That issue, that was that one.
All right, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on the stack. We'll get there. And also, Shirtless Bear Fighter 2, #1. That is back from Image Comics. Very fun to see that title back. So I'm excited to check that out. All of those titles are going to be in our Stack podcast, which debuts Wednesday at 9 a.m. Wednesday 9 a.m. in both the Stack feed and the Comic Book Club feed. And folks, that is it for this week's show. Couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Russell Nohelty. Check out Ichabod Jones, Monster Hunter, now on Kickstarter. Also, Ramzee. Check out Edge of Spider-Verse #2 from Marvel Comics in shops tomorrow. Next week on the show,
We also want to thank Kevin. We want to thank Michael Tillman. We want to thank Stray Bowley, Pablo Martinez, and Nat Townsend.
Oh, that's nice. You probably forgot somebody from our comment section over there, and now their feelings are hurt. But go ahead, Pete. Next week on the show, Julian Hanshaw is going to be here to talk about Top Shelf's Free Pass. A couple of other things to plug. Lock and Key Unlocked, our Lock and Key podcast, almost done. Recapping season 3. Yes, and we got a shout out from Jackson Robert Scott, who plays Bodhi on Instagram, which is very nice to see.
Mad Bodhi, what's up?
Very heartwarming. Also, Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast, is going to kick off She-Hulk starting this week. Shouldn't be contentious at all.
Oh my God, I would never yell and fight with you about She-Hulk.
The Doom Room, our Doom Patrol podcast every Thursday morning. Check that out in its own feed. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show and all the shows we do. Subscribe on Apple, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice at Comic Book Live on Twitter, Comic Book Club Live on Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, good night!
Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourself out there.
Gotta laugh.
Kimmy Gate.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
To this.
Wow.